championship so close he can taste it.
Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100.
Side by side. And your new champion, Kirkwood Rasmussen.
Welcome, race fans, to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. I am joined by Series Development Director Rob Howden, and we are here for the penultimate round of the Indy Lights Championship. It's just went by, hasn't it, Rob?
It does. It seems like we were just at Barber Motorsports Park to start things off, but we've had some great racing throughout the season, and we've seen really a couple drivers kind of step to the forefront with a bunch of race wins.
Yeah. As you can see for the fans at home, we are trackside. We are at a trackside booth. Pretty cool. I'm sure we're going to have fans talk to us. They've been talking to us while we're off the air. So I'm sure somebody is going to come on live while we do this throughout the weekend. Pretty cool, though, to be here trackside. This is turn 5, I believe.
Four.
Four. Perfect. Well, I haven't driven around here, so.
In a while.
Yeah, exactly. So, Rob, obviously, we've got through the qualifications. For a lot of the fans, they probably saw that HMD – very strong with multiple cars, but Andretti Autosport with that one sneaky guy named Kyle Kirkwood seems to be leading the way.
Both HMD Motorsports and Andretti Autosports did get a chance to test here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, so they were able to develop a setup. A lot of the times, though, when you're doing that, you do have some quality sims, but you're also trying to get that long race pace. HMD's looked very, very good. Second, third, and fourth with Malukas, Lundquist, and Peterson for race number 1. Daniel Frost getting in there for race 2. But you're right, it's been Kyle Kirkwood. So great out of the gate. And you guarantee the guys weren't really happy at HMD when they heard after the first qualifying run that Kirkwood said that was effortless. The car just kept getting better and better.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous when a guy like Kyle Kirkwood says that. Now, what's really interesting, let's break it down from Portland to now. It's not like Kyle Kirkwood's had the strongest run, and usually this late summer, early fall is his time to shine. I was a little surprised. Portland and Andretti Autosport were not on their game. Obviously, Kyle made hay when the sun shined there in race 2. Somehow got by the front two as HMD teammates David Malukas and Lena were battling, which I think that was a huge gift for Kyle to come in here 5 points apart when it could have been a lot worse. And then you look at him putting the hammer down, really the biggest qualifying gap we've seen all year in Indy Lights at 4/10 almost apiece for both qualifying.
The interesting thing is if you look at what happened at Portland, really Kirkwood lacked some pace. HMD Motorsports were first, second, third, and fourth in qualifying for race 1 there. Kirkwood started 5th, was able to run up to 2nd, and then, of course, getting that win when Malukas and Lindquist were battling it out over in turn number 1. He did the over-under. Now, interestingly, you talk about maybe he didn't have the run, but if you really look at it, pace-wise in qualifying, no, but he has had a run. Over the last 10 races, Kyle Kirkwood has finished 9 of those 10, 90% first or second, which is amazing. And the race that he didn't finish first or second was the DNF at Road America when he was leading and had a mechanical failure. So it could have been even more race wins. He hasn't had that pace he's talked about in qualifying, but one of the things about Kyle Kirkwood is he can get it done in the races. We've seen that over all his years on the road to Indy.
It's pretty interesting. He's pretty methodical of how he puts that championship together. If I'm David Malukas, I'm going, okay, it's Laguna Seca. I tested here. I know I'm fast here. I got lots of fast teammates. I don't want to go to Mid-Ohio in a deficit because that seems to be Andretti's, I'll call it the Andretti Autosport graveyard. They've just dominated teams there. For that to be the last race, it's kind of unique this year. Obviously, 2021 is still a little bit COVID affected.
It is.
Usually we're ending a championship here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. When I was flying here, I'm going, it feels like the end of the season for me because every time you come to the West Coast, usually that's the end of your championship. These guys still got to fight to Mid-Ohio. But Kyle probably sitting pretty good here. 2 poles. He's just got to get through these races. What do you think?
And this is a track position facility for sure. If you look back at the results, you have to go way deep into the history of Indy Lights to find the driver who actually finished from further back. P5, the furthest back anybody's ever won from. That was Fabrizio Barbaza many, many years ago. So starting up front is going to help. Qualifying key, and, of course, for Kirkwood, if he can get through the opening corners, that turn 1 down to turn number 2, that's going to be key. If he comes through there and can pull away a little bit, I think that's going to give Kirkwood an opportunity. If he gets out of here with 2 race wins, you talk about going to Mid-Ohio, he is going to have so much confidence heading there for the finale.
Well, and really, Rob, I know we're not talking about anybody else, and I'm sorry if you're fans of other drivers, but at this point, it's the championship battle. There's 2 horses in the race.
True.
You've got David Malukas, Kyle Kirkwood, and really right now it's the Malukas-Kirkwood show.
It is.
In qualifying, they're both first and second on the front row. The only thing Malukas has got going for him He's got those nice teammate cars
true.
surrounding Kyle Kirkwood. And I'm sure that's on his head a little bit. Kyle had some trouble making the first turn in 2019 with teammates.
He did. That's right, indeed.
And I'm sure that stings a little bit. Interesting enough, 2019, the last time the Road to Indy came here, this place is notorious for tire degradation. And I know we've talked a lot about tire degradation throughout the year, but I can say as a driver that's driven here at Laguna Seca, this place is probably the worst for tire degradation.
And that played into qualifying, obviously, because if you were a mid-pack guy, which were the other 3 drivers in Andretti Autosport, they all had to go out on 2 sets of fresh tires in qualifying to see if they couldn't move themselves forward. It worked for Daniel Frost. He was able to get up to P4 instead of being further back. But what that will mean is that in the races, they're not going to have fresh tires. There's going to be at least a couple of drivers in HMD and Kyle Kirkwood that will have 1 set of fresh Cooper tires for at least one of the 2 races here this weekend.
We'll go back to Road America when we talk about fresh Cooper tires, and we saw the Andretti Autosport strategy. If the fans remember, Andretti Autosport, one of the only teams to do just 1 set in both qualifyings, and they went out and stomped everybody in the races. Those new Cooper tires, it's maybe not that they're fast in those first 5 laps. Obviously, anytime I'm a driver, if I've got a battle in the first couple laps, I would honestly rather have scuffs than brand new tires because the scuffs just have a little bit more grip on that first lap. But when you look at the degradation over the course of the race, especially at a place like this, I would want new boots for a race. Kyle's probably thinking big time, just get through turn 1 and get away. Aero wash here is obviously this place is pretty high speed. You've got the corkscrew where you're dropping 3 stories. You've got a lot of high speed places here where you don't want to be following a car. If I'm Malukas, I'm going, I got to get by Kyle in turn 1. And the outside has a lot of grip.
It does. We've seen that before in past races here too, right?
We have seen it in past races before, and I've attempted it many a time. Every time I start here, I've been around the outside trying to get something done.
So you can hook it if you get out there. And again, it really this turn 2 is that race to the exit point of that corner. If you can get to the exit point first, you'll have the inside for the right-hand turn 3.
100%. Yeah. So don't think this thing is signed and sealed for Kyle Kirkwood. He is going to have his hands full. Yeah. And then if I've watched it in practice, Rob. It's not like these guys are doing much long runs. We had 1 practice session, which is pretty rare for the Road to Indy. Usually you've got 2. 1 practice session, down to business and qualifying. I didn't see guys do more than 5 laps.
Yeah, and because that practice session, which was 45 minutes long, knowing that we have a lot of tire deg here, that nobody went to fresh tires even to try. Everybody used their carryover set of tires for Portland. So really it was almost kind of a wash, just getting a feel for the car here, getting back at it again for the weekend. They weren't able to do anything to feel out what a new set of tires would be and how that would extend through a full 30-lap run.
Going to be really interesting. I mean, these guys are probably wondering how this tire geg's going, but the one thing I'll go back to, HMD Motorsports has got 3 bullets in the chamber starting at the front of this race. So let's run through the order then. You've got the 2.
First off, I want to do this because we'll definitely do that. First off, I think one of the things I want to look at is the fact that this is almost that make-or-break weekend. I know we're talking about the weekend being Mid-Ohio, but both Kirkwood and Malukas come in here literally tied. If you look at the results, it's ridiculous. They're 4 points apart now, but both have won 7 races. Both have finished in the top 5 14 times. Both only out of the top 5 twice. The mirror image of their results is ridiculous. The one thing that Kyle Kirkwood does have, if we do see a tiebreaker like we saw back in 2014 with Jack Harvey and Gabby Chavez, 4 second-place finishes for Kyle Kirkwood, only 2 for David Malukas. It's really the only differentiator right now. But if Kirkwood can come out of here with a couple of race wins, everything could turn right here.
And it's going to be wild. I mean, I touched on it before. You go to Mid-Ohio, and if Kyle goes out and gets 2 race wins, really, David Malukas has to go to Mid-Ohio knowing that he needs 2 race wins to even it back out. And then even if he evens it back out, to Rob's point, if they go in it tied, it goes back on second places, which at this point, I would say since really Jack Harvey and Gabby Chavez, this is probably the closest Road to Indy championship that we've seen down the battle stretch. Yeah,
100% it is. And it's exciting. Again, it goes to this kind of run we've had of these 2 drivers mano-a-mano pairing up, right? You go back to Pato Ward versus Colton Hurd, and then Oliver Askew versus Renus VK, and now it's David Malukas versus Kyle Kirkwood. I love the fact that we've had these 2-man battles over the last 3 years.
So, Rob, we've done this quite a bit, and I'd say you've probably caught me in my championship.
Closer.
At this point, we might be mano-a-mano ourselves on the driver picks. I'll give you first weekend. I'm a nice guy. I'm Canadian.
Yeah, listen, I'm Canadian too. Remember? So I'm sorry.
No,
you go. I got to go, Kyle Kirkwood. I do. I like your thought of the fact that he's surrounded by HMD drivers behind it. They're going to be attacking him big time. If Kirkwood gets out of turn number 2, I don't think he's challenged.
I'm going to switch it up this time, and I'm going to go Lena Slundquist.
I was thinking about that.
He's starting P3. He's racy. You know, Linus, Well, he's starting P2 on this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Three
So,
tomorrow.
3 tomorrow. But I like his aura. He's relaxed. You know, he knows, I think, he's out of the championship battle. And when a driver goes into that and knows that there's no pressure.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And he knows that it's contract season right now, baby. He's got to get some results put in there. I think he is going to be one of the guys to beat out there. And he also looks good on the long run. He was the only guy in practice doing longer runs.
Hey, and I talked to him after Q2, and he literally said, we did a bunch of long run running during our test session. We came here to test, and he said, our cars are really good over the long run. That could be a pick. I may get myself in trouble here.
Well, we'll see. We're going down the R stretch for our championship battle, and the Indy Lights guys, Malukas and Kirkwood, are going down the stretch for theirs. Don't go away anywhere. You got to learn what is so tricky about Laguna Seca. Los Angeles has the Hollywood sign, Batman has the bat signal, and race fans have the corkscrew. For the penultimate round of the top rung of the road to Indy, we have made our way back here for the Monterey Grand Prix. If you're a veteran fan, you would know that WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca has been a staple for our championship on the road to Indy for years past. The track was built in 1957 at a cost of $1.5 million, raised from local businesses and individuals in the area of Monterey, California. They named it Laguna Seca, which is of course Spanish for a dry lagoon. The area where the track now lies was once a lake, and the elevation changes here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca come from the fact that the track is built around the dry lake bed. This 2.2-mile track has 180 feet of elevation change, and the 11 turns are some of the toughest in North America, headlined by a 3-story drop that our drivers face in a corner called the Corkscrew. It's fitting that we have one of the most iconic corner and track combinations play host to one of the Road to Indy's most famous championship stretch battles. At 7 wins each, it is only 3 points that separate David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood to the Indy Lights title and that IndyCar ride in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Road to Indy. Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times and buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride this weekend at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast. No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
We're here in the Road to Indy paddock with a powerhouse of the Road to Indy, Ricardo Juncos of Juncos Racing. Ricardo, big announcement this offseason. You're headed back to IndyCar. Take us through that.
Yeah, obviously it's one of the biggest announcements that we made, obviously in my life for sure. But then since we come into IndyCar in 17, that's what we was trying to do in the last 5 years. So now we are going to IndyCar in the way I was dreaming about, kind of more proper way in a sense. Very excited times. At the same time, this is our 13th consecutive season in Road to Indy with the Indy Pro. So we want to make sure, if anything, the whole program just get benefit from this.
That's fantastic. Obviously, Brad Hollinger, he was a former investor in Williams F1 team. How does that feel for you going into the offseason? That just fills up your war chest.
Yeah, I think he's good. I mean, I think he's a perfect fit for us, and we get along really well. He's fanatic of motor racing. He's obviously all his story for him and be by one of the Williams F1 owners. That's actually, wow, like huge. So obviously it's a lot for me to learn from him as well. So now he's gonna be a plus, right? Someone that we will have proper budget to do developments in IndyCar to make sure that we can continue. We have a path, we have a program that is consistent, is predictable. Obviously, it's not easy still, that we gotta put a team together now for the last 3 races in IndyCar, which is not easy, right? In terms of people, engineer, crew chief, mechanics, all that, and drivers, of course. But for me, it's very important to start now. So we're gonna do these 3 races in IndyCar. So we're gonna show everybody to the world that we come in serious, we come into the top, and also Brad is gonna be much more involved in Road to Indy as well. We want to make sure we don't leave proper talent someone like you actually, with a lot of talent, Victor Franzoni, Peter Dempsey, I mean, coming many with the talent but no money behind, right? So we want to create a system inside the team that develop the drivers in a proper way, the way we believe is proper, and that's good as well, you know. I want to make sure we finish in a strong note this year, and now we have time to prep everything properly the way I wanted, Indy Pro, Indy Lights, and IndyCar for 2022.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. If they weren't a powerhouse before, Juncos Hollinger Racing gearing up for a powerful 2022. Ricardo, thank you very much for your time.
The $1.25 million scholarship to move to the NTT IndyCar Series in 2022. 11 drivers on the grid getting set to go. Let's introduce those drivers for you. Starting in the 11th position for Carlin Racing out of Covington, Louisiana, rookie driver this year, Christian Bogle in the number 7, starting in that 11th position inside of row number 6. Moving up to row number 5 on the outside from Idaho, last year's Indy Pro 2000 champion, Stingray Robb in the Juncos Hollinger Racing number 2, Robb starting in 10th position. In the 9th spot, another driver making only his 2nd start here, made his Indy Lights debut last weekend at the Portland International Raceway. He will start today. From the 9th position, Manuel Suleiman out of Mexico for HMD Motorsports in the number 59. We'll go now to row number 4 on the outside. Back in 2019, the last time Indy Lights were here, this driver with a couple of top 4 finishes, including a podium in race number 1, 3rd. Robert McGinnis out of Mount Kisco, New York, in the Andretti Autosport number 27, starting in the 8th position. Inside of that row, in the Power Tap Hydrogen number 17, the Andretti Steinbrenner Racing driver, last year runner-up in the Indy Pro 2000 category, Devlin DeFrancesco from Miami, Florida, starting in the 7th spot. Going now to row number 3 on the outside, his 2nd start here in Indy Lights, made the debut last weekend in Portland with Juncos Hollinger Racing. Rasmus Lint out of Sweden in the number 51, a winner here actually at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca 2 years ago in the Indy Pro 2000 category. The year he finished 2nd. Rasmus Lint in the 51, starting in 6th on the outside of row number 3. Inside of that row, a former winner in the Indy Pro 2000 categories, had a couple of pole positions this year and will be looking for his first race win. Starting on the inside of row 3 in the number 68 Denjet machine for Andretti Autosport, it's Daniel Frost from Singapore. Up to row number 2 on the outside, you'll see 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, all from the HMD Global Motorsports, or Global Racing Group rather, stable. Very impressive run so far. Starting in the 4th spot on the outside of row number 2, out of Seattle, Washington, Benjamin Peterson in the number 24. He will start in that 4th position. Inside of that row, the driver currently has the point lead by 4 markers. He has 7 wins on the season, as well as 14 top 5 finishes. David Malukas in the number 79 from Chicago, Illinois, starting in the 3rd spot. 2 drivers on the front row here to get set to go head-to-head as they work their way through 1 down to turn number 2. Starting on the outside for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports out of Sweden. 2 times a winner this year, Lena Slundquist in the number 26, starting on the outside of the front row. And the pole sitter here getting a very crucial bonus point for being the top driver in qualifying, currently just 4 points back, 7 wins on the season out of Jupiter, Florida. The USF 2000 champion of 2018, Indy Pro 2000 champion in 2019, Kyle Kirkwood for Andretti Autosport in the number 28, starting on the pole position. Fast lap of 115.023, 4/10 quicker than Lundquist to earn the inside of the front row. So again, Kirkwood and Lundquist on row 1, Malukas and Peterson row 2, Frost and Lint row 3, DeFrancesco and McGinnis row 4, Suleiman and Robb row 5, and Bogle on row number 6. Qualifying for race number 2, which will take place tomorrow morning, was on track earlier today, a 9:45 session. Kyle Kirkwood able to come out with another pole position there as well. We saw Daniel Frost improve up to P4, but now it's time to go wheel-to-wheel racing for the first time. As I said earlier, final 4 races of the 2021 Indy Lights Championship, and we have ourselves a title fight for sure between Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas. Just 4 points separate those 2 young American drivers as they look to try to win the $1.25 million scholarship to take them to the NTT IndyCar Series next year. That program will guarantee 3 starts, including the attempt at the Indianapolis 500. Seen some pretty solid runs out of drivers working their way out of the Indy Lights program. Talked, of course, about Renus VK and Oliver Askew, Colton Herta and Pato O'Ward, a number of the drivers who we've seen succeed in Indy Lights over the last number of years, jumping up into the IndyCar program. And with that series continuing to grow, excited to see the opportunities that we'll have for so many of our young drivers coming up through USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and Indy Lights. This event scheduled for a 30-lap battle, and we'll see what happens here. This is definitely a track position racetrack, but it's also one where you have to have tire durability. Tire deg so important here. This track notoriously tough on the rubber, and these Cooper tires very consistent, but you have to take care of your tires to get through to the end. Once again, Kyle Kirkwood starting on the pole position alongside Lena Slundquist, and we are about set to fire things up down here on pit lane. 450 horsepower behind each one of these drivers, all with the same Dallara IL-15 chassis and Cooper tires. And folks, it is time to get them underway. To join me here down on pit lane right now to give the command to fire up the engines, the Cooper Tire Girls with me here today. Folks, let's do this.
Road to Indy drivers, start your engines!
And with that, engines coming to life down here on pit lane. 11 Indy Lights drivers set to go for 30 laps of competition. It's time to go racing at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Back to Nick Yeoman and the IndyCar Radio Network.
Race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kyle Kirkwood on the front row as your pole sitter. It is his 5th pole of the season. He scored his 6th a little bit earlier this morning as well. He will be joined by Lena Slundquist, who enters this race weekend 3rd in the championship. Starting 3rd will be David Malukas alongside Benjamin Peterson. Daniel Frost will start in the 5th position alongside Rasmus Lind. Devlin DiFrancesco for Andretti Autosport will start 7th. His teammate Robert McGinnis starts in the 8th spot. Manuel Suleiman, the young Mexican driver, will start in the 9th spot. Stingray Robb will start 10th. And Christian Bogle will start 11th. Davey, we watch those cars rolling off of pit lane. Looks like sticker sets of Cooper tires for just about everybody, especially our pole sitter Kyle Kirkwood. So grip going to be premium, and it's there for the taking for these drivers when we see the green flag.
Yeah, as we see, I think all the way up to Daniel Frost, I see sticker tires. Look like Daniel may have had some scuffs on, but at this racetrack, tire degradation is very, very key here, and you don't want to wear the tires out at the end of the run. That's where, you know, we see the action. I think at this race with all these new sticker Cooper tires that we're going to see pretty much equal grounds. They're all gonna probably run close to the same speeds until they start wearing out, and that's going to show the driver and the car that's the best at the end of the day.
The field begins the first of 2 pace laps. Good opportunity for us to check in with our pit reporters. We start with Rob Howden. Rob?
Nick, a beautiful day here once again. About 10 degrees warmer than it was earlier today for that qualifying session. 68 degrees trackside here right now, but beautiful blue sky, a little bit of cloud. That's about it. Perfect conditions for a race here for Indy Lights. And as Davey said, I think the big thing right now is to see who's able to handle these tires. Everybody essentially on the fresh Cooper tires. Tomorrow will be different. We'll see which drivers were able to hold on to that extra set potentially for tomorrow. But otherwise, everybody pretty evenly matched in terms of rubber up front.
How about you, Alex Wolf? You've got a good view of the cars just moments ago when they left pit lane.
I do, and it's something that'll be interesting to watch for HMD Motorsports. The number 59 car rolling off 9th with Manuel Suleiman. Just moments before the command to fire engines, they removed the nose cone for the 59 car and looked like they were taking a look around the pedals. So something to keep an eye on as the opening laps of this race begins for a driver in his 2nd weekend in Indy Lights competition.
Davey, speculate. What could that mean if they're digging around there at the nose of that race car?
Yeah, that's interesting. You never know. Just maybe a little fluid down there. When sometimes you put brake fluid in these master cylinders, they'll cycle it through to put new fluid in for the races. Maybe a little bit of spilled on the floor. Your feet slide around down there. Maybe they just had to wipe that up a little bit. Or maybe knock something loose on the floor down there. Who's to say? But usually that's pretty well taken care of, but I've had issues with things. Radios are down in that area sometimes, but sometimes it's just fluid on the floorboard.
So you're telling me it's not just the pedals. There's a lot
of things that can happen down there. Exactly right.
All right, so we are set to go racing with, again, a 30-lap event around this ultra-competitive 11-turn natural terrain road course out in Monterey, California. Beautiful part of the country that open wheel racing has enjoyed going to for many years. Michael Young. They're making their way down through turn number 1. Final time before we release them, and everyone's going to be chasing Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, Kyle's doing a little gamesmanship of his own as the pace car checks out. He stops and he brakes it. Lena Slundquist. Now he catches up to the pace car, nearly runs into the back end of him, now swerving left to right to get some heat into those Cooper tires. Kyle Kirkwood, Lena Slundquist, David Malukas, and Benjamin Peterson, the top 4 that make up the first 2 rows as the pace car now makes its way through that left-hander of turn number 5. Nick, a beautiful afternoon here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway. It is going to be a thriller as we only have 4 races to go in this 2021 Indy Lights campaign.
Yep, it's been a phenomenal championship all year long. If you have joined us, boy, you have missed, or you haven't missed the action, which has just been fantastic as these future IndyCar drivers really starting to show their stuff with guys like Malukas, Kirkwood, Lundquist scoring race wins. And they'll start 1, 2, and 3 today with an opportunity to score another race win. Pace car making its way through the corkscrew. Everyone will stay single file, and as they leave the corkscrew, Jake, this is where they'll start to pack up as we are moments away from going racing.
It's interesting, Nick, because there is a huge hill that, of course, is the area that they work their way around. That is the corkscrew, and you would typically say that turn number 10 is in the shadows of that hill. It wasn't necessarily this morning because there was too much cloud cover for there to be the sun, but open sun now. We're about to go racing as Kyle Kirkwood leads the field off of turn number 11.
Kirkwood and Lundquist on the front row, Malukas and Peterson in row number 2. Out of the final turn 11 left-hander, the front 8 or 9 are lined up as they await the green flag. Christian Bogle is going to hang back, but they'll see the green flag, and Kyle Kirkwood accelerates immediately. Looking for the second spot is David Malukas as he nearly runs into the back of his teammate Michael. They're into turn number 2.
2 side by side, the front row, as it looks like everybody has checked back up. Now back on the accelerator again. Kyle Kirkwood makes his way through the right-hander. That is turn number 3. He'll check out about 3 car lengths over Lena Slundquist. David Malukas is in that 3rd position, then Benjamin Peterson 4th. Best battle is Daniel Frost and Rasmus Lindh. That is the battle for 5th, but Kyle Kirkwood through turn number 5, 2 car length advantage as he makes his way over the hill and ahead of Lena Slundquist.
Ton of dirt kicked up at the back of the field as it looked like Manuel Suleiman was trying to pick up a spot in mid-pack. He went off the racetrack and falls all the way to the 11th position. Did a nice job of getting that car back out of the racetrack, and that's where he will fall to the tail of the field. Meanwhile, Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader, and Jake, he is streaking his way out of turn number 9.
And Kyle Kirkwood is doing that with about an 8 car length advantage right now over Lundquist, then 3 back to Malukas. Kyle Kirkwood, no issue at all in lap number 1. He is cleanly now sweeping to the outside, working turn number 11.
Kirkwood, your race leader, out of turn number 11 to complete lap number 1. The advantage over Lena Slundquist is about 8 car lengths. Another 3 back to David Malukas, 3 or 4 back to Benjamin Peterson as they race back down into turn number 2.
Well, after 1 lap, the top 4 have already strung themselves out. Kyle Kirkwood, a 4 car length advantage over Lena Slundquist. David Malukas, about 3 cars behind Lena Slundquist in 3rd, and then Benjamin Peterson running in that 4th position, about 3 car lengths behind David Malukas. Again, that battle as everybody seems stacked up as Rasmus Lindh got around the machine of Daniel Frost, so moved Rasmus Lindh into that 5th position. Daniel Frost now holding off Devlin DiFrancesco back to the front through turn number 5. Kyle Kirkwood, 6 car lengths.
Yeah, front 4 getting away a little bit as Rasmus Lindh, Michael touched on it, made a really nice pass as he set up Daniel Frost going down into turn number 2, and he's already starting to streak away from Daniel Frost. That was, again, the change for the 5th position. Frost now kind of falling back into the clutches of Devlin DiFrancesco. That's a battle for 6th, Jake. Frost and DiFrancesco heading towards turn number 9.
And DiFrancesco had a spirited opening lap because it was Suleiman, as we talked about, that kicked up the dirt trying to get around DiFrancesco. Right now, Devlin DiFrancesco, about a 2 car length advantage. Everything status quo through turn number 10.
Might have a battle shaping up for the 2nd spot as the 3 HMD Global Racing Group cars do a little drafting down the front straightaway. Up front, though, Michael, Kyle Kirkwood's gotten away 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, and if if David Malukas wants to keep this championship in the hunt. He wants to get around that machine of Lena Slundquist. He's got that third position, as you said, trying to get to second, about 3 car lengths behind Lena Slundquist. Kyle Kirkwood in command as he makes his way through turn number 4. Everybody cleanly. Kyle Kirkwood, 10 car length advantage over Lena Slundquist. And as you said, that battle batch starting to shape up as David Malukas starts to close in on that rear wing of Lena Slundquist for second.
Boy, Davey Hamilton, we're seeing dust kicked up all over the racetrack, especially rounds 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, you know, the guys, they really did a good job in turn 1 on the initial start, Nick. That's a tough corner down there. There is 2 grooves down there for sure. They took advantage of that, kept it clean. I did see, you know, Solomon, he definitely got punted a little bit by DeFrancisco coming off of turn 4 out in the dirt, but the good news is they all made it through now. Now it's time to spread out a little bit. I'm watching lap times. Kirkwood basically about 1 second a lap quicker. This last lap, a half a second lap quicker. He has a 1.5 second lead over Lundquist. So those HMD cars are going to have to help each other out to try to catch him.
Yeah, they've got to keep pace and got to keep close if they want any chance to use some of that extra horsepower, that push to pass if you are within 1.5 seconds. And right now, Kirkwood's advantage is 1.571 over Lena Slundquist, who runs in the second spot. David Malukas is in third, about 2.3 seconds behind the race leader. Benjamin Peterson is fourth. Rasmus Lind runs in the fifth spot. Daniel Frost is in sixth. Devlin DeFrancesco runs in seventh. Robert McGinnis is eighth. Stingray Robb is ninth. Christian Bogle 10th. Manuel Suleiman 11th, as we are working lap number 3 of this 30-lap race for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Let's pick up the race leader, Kyle Kirkwood. He is at the top of the hill, making his way through that very tricky corkscrew. And Jake, that advantage continues to grow lap by lap.
You had talked about Peterson, who is now in the 4th position. Wanted to get up there and try to play with that front 3, but got just a little bit loose last time by. Best battle as Kirkwood works his way through turn number 11 is that battle for second right now. Lundquist has it, but Malukas is just a car length and a half behind.
Yeah, he is, and we'll see if Kirkwood can get a nice run out of that final corner. He's about 3 or 4 car lengths behind his teammate, Lena Slundquist, as they head down to turn number 2. Michael, pretty good battle shaping up for that second spot.
Yeah, David Malukas really closed that gap with he and his teammate, Lena Slundquist. Lundquist now exiting turn number 2. That Andretti hairpin stretches it back out to about a 3 car length advantage, quickly through turn number 3. Then that tough turn number 4. We saw David Malukas have that back end step out ever so slightly last time by. For Lena Slundquist in that second position, still about 3 car lengths. Both drivers, he and David Malukas, start to climb that hill, stretch that advantage now to 4 car lengths. Lundquist over Malukas.
A black nose with an orange car for Lena Slundquist. For Malukas, it's black, red, and silver as they get to the top of the hill, all chasing after Kyle Kirkwood, who disappears out of their view, heading towards the corkscrew. But it is the battle for second. Lundquist, about a 2, call it 3 car length advantage, Jake, to the left-hander of 9.
And this might be an opportunity if Malukas is able to get close enough where he could get inside of Lena Slundquist, because turn 10 provides that. But Lundquist, no error through turn number 10. Looks like Malukas closed in just a little bit, right on the rear wing through turn number 11.
And Davey, in a season-long points championship, every spot matters for David Malukas. He would love to get by his teammate here early in this race.
Right now, running that 3rd position is not doing him any favors. 2.7 seconds now behind that leader. Unfortunately, he's already dropped from 1st in the points championship to 2nd in the points championship, 5 points back. That's the last thing he needs at any of these races, but they're winding their season down as well. There's 4 races left to go, and we know how good Kirkwood is at Mid-Ohio at their finale.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be kind of a scary thought, because Kirkwood swept the Mid-Ohio races earlier in the season. 2 weeks from now, he's going to be the favorite at those events. And with the way this weekend is playing out, Davey, I mean, not the time for David Malukas to panic, but I could understand if he is, considering how fast that 28 car looks his championship counterpart.
Yeah, and you look how consistent these drivers have been and how they have not made any mistakes with 7 wins each. It just goes to tell you how consistent they are, how good they are, that they don't get pressured into a lot of mistakes. And when you talk about either one of those guys, they're both that way. Man, it's really favoring Kirkwood at this point, just because of the qualifying for this weekend and knowing what he's done at Mid-Ohio in the past.
Yeah, that qualifying pace so important. Jake, looked like Stingray Robb was looking pretty aggressive just a moment ago.
As a matter of fact, again, we talked about the fact this is an area, I think, Nick, heading into turn number 10, that curvature, if you will, where things all of a sudden can present themselves. Stingray Rob tried to do exactly that, but you've got to make sure that you make that move in turn number 10 because things tighten up awfully tight through turn number 11, Nick. We have seen several in practice that have gone off into the dirt in that area.
Yeah, he made a pass of Robert McGinnis, but it looks like Alex Wolf, there may be bigger problems for the young driver from New York.
Yeah, there are much bigger problems as he has brought that number 27 machine in there right now, taking the cowling cover off on the front, looking at the dampers, but he has a bent suspension on looks like the left front corner of the number 27 machine, so he's come to the attention of the Andretti Autosport crew. They have the speed wrench out right now trying to adjust the dampers and also work on that suspension. It's right in the middle of that left front suspension, so a lot of work going on. 3 crew members right there working and looking at that car with trouble for Robert McGinnis.
Davey, not ideal to have suspension problems anywhere, but I imagine with the elevation change into this place, that is not good for Robert McGinnis.
Yeah, you know, I didn't see any contact. Obviously, he either went off track or had a slight amount of contact to bend that suspension. It looked like the team was looking at the left front, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. Didn't get a real good view of that. Trying to look down pit lane, see if I can see any tires askew, and it doesn't look bad, so it must be a minor bend. But at any rate, you cannot drive these cars with any suspension bent or out of whack for sure.
And I would assume, Dave, it doesn't take a whole lot, right, to bend some of these pieces, wheel-to-wheel contact?
Well, you know what? I say that, but then we see guys like Erickson to go a fly job in Nashville, you know, and we've seen the bottom of his car come slamming down the racetrack, and he goes on to win the race. So in some, you know, I think that they're very weak in some areas and very strong in others, and I think if you have a side hit on them, that's where they get a little bit weak, and rightfully so. You want some weak points in these cars to absorb impact, or try to help, especially in the steering wheel part where it doesn't give you any hand injuries when you collide.
Yeah, and explain that. I mean, you could certainly stiffen up the suspension and make those, parts as hard as possible, Davey, but going to be awful hard for those drivers to navigate and turn fast laps like we see.
Yeah, and I look back at some old footage, Nick, especially like at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you see some of the older race cars, I'm talking in the 50s, and you'll see them rolling, these drivers rolling, very small roll cages, and then they'll roll 5, 6, 7 times and nothing flies off the car at all. And they land and the tires are all still on, the wheels. It doesn't look like it has all that much damage actually. You look at an accident today and when they hit the wall, and there's millions of pieces literally that come flying off that car to absorb that hit for the drivers. And every time, if the car's absorbing the impact, that means the drivers, ooh, we got Lucas off track right now as well, got off in the dirt, got back on. Looks like he's trying hard to pass his teammate Lundquist.
Michael Young looked like he was riding a bull through turns 3 and 4.
Last 3 times by he's been on that bull, and this time the bull bucked him. He exited turn number 4. That back end stepped out. He saved it, but went about 4 feet off track, and then off track at about 200 yards or so before he was able to get back on track. Problem was Benjamin Peterson was able to get around him. That will drop David Malukas back to the 4th position. Even worse, drop him further back in that championship points race.
Yeah, Davey, he loses a spot and a couple more points, but got to be, I would assume, happy that he didn't lose that entire race car. That was wild through turn 4.
Yeah, he really stepped out right there. I mean, obviously he's putting a lot of pressure on the car and himself to try to get this championship in under hold, but that cost him 3 more points, that small mistake. And as I talked earlier, how these guys, the 2 drivers, Kirkwood and Malukas, haven't really made any mistakes and just continue, being super impressive. But there we go. It just shows that everybody can make a mistake, and he just made one, cost himself another 3 points.
Yep, 3 points as he falls now 8 behind Kyle Kirkwood in the championship as we work lap number 9 of this 30-lap race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires on IndyCar Radio. My name's Nick Yeoman. Driver analyst is Davey Hamilton, Jake Query, Michael Young out in the turns, Rob Howden and Alex Wolf down on pit lane. And we are watching Kyle Kirkwood, who has a 3.8-second lead now, Jake Query, and as he heads downhill through the left-right of the corkscrew, that car looks planted, and he continues to stretch it out.
And if you're Lena Slundquist, who is running in second, your hope now is that Kirkwood simply makes a mistake. Not going to happen this time by. Very clean line. The left side of the car, when you work through turn number 10, if you go in with just the slightest bit too much speed, you can get that left side along into the dirt. We have seen that happen, but everybody now 1 through 8, very conservative through 10 this time by. No issues at all. Everybody back onto the main straightaway.
To Jake's point, it is about precision on these road courses. How about David Malukas? He didn't show a lot of precision through turn 4 moments ago. Michael, has he gathered it back up and run down Benjamin Peterson?
I think it took him a lap or so just to get that rhythm back, but he's about 4 car lengths behind Peterson, and I would think he was potentially 8 car lengths last time by. He's closed that gap ever so slightly, but man alive, every time he comes through turn 4, it looks like that back end is about ready to step out on him, like he has a ton of oversteer at the exit of turn number 4. This time as they climb the hill into turn number 5, now towards turn number 6, Benjamin Peterson 5 car lengths ahead of David Malukas.
At the 1/3 mark, it's Kyle Kirkwood, Lena Slundquist, Benjamin Peterson, the top 3. David Malukas runs 4th. Rasmus Lind is 5th. Daniel Frost is 6th. Devlin DiFrancesco runs 7th. Stingray Robb is 8th. Manuel Suleiman is 9th. Christian Bogle runs in 10th. And Alex Wolf, Robert McGinnis right now in 11th. And unfortunately for him, has now fallen down 3 laps.
That's right. He's fallen down 3 laps. And the final diagnosis on what was wrong looked like the left front toe link. And how it was bent, it almost looked like if you start to put a kink in a garden hose just right in the middle of that toe link. Had at least 3 crew members working on it. Apparently we hear now too many crew members over the wall working. They were actually, I think, trying to administer a penalty when they sent him out. It was a little bit of a miscommunication, but either way, a toe link on the left front replaced for Robert McGinnis, and now he's back into the race 3 laps down.
And Davey, with 19 laps to go, this essentially what becomes an additional practice, a test session for a driver like Robert McGinnis, because we're going to go racing again tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, you have to just take that under your belt and say, okay, you know what, we didn't have a good day. Try to perform well tomorrow and just try to end on a good weekend. And I continue to say McGinnis is one of DiFrancesco, Frost. They're wanting wins. Peterson, they need some wins just to show they can win a race in this series. Oh, McGinnis back out again, I see going up the hill.
Yeah, and he's doing the smart thing. He's staying out of the way. He kind of blended back into the field right around the top 5, and he moves over to let Kyle Kirkwood by. He let Lundquist by right before turn number 6, and then up the hill he moved over to driver's left to allow Benjamin Peterson and David Malukas, those other championship contenders and at least contenders for the race, win by. So that will earn him a little bit of respect in that Indy Lights paddock. Working lap number 12, 18 to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Let's go back to pit lane and check in with Rob Howard.
Yeah, indeed, Nick, just a bit of a note. That obviously was one of the concerns here with the HMD crew when Robert McGinnis got let out into pit lane onto the racetrack right in front of the leaders. They immediately went to the race control just to say, hey, make sure that he doesn't let Kirkwood by and interfere with our drivers. And as you saw, McGinnis, and of course, moving to the side, letting everybody get through. And indeed, as you said, they'll like that in the paddock. But HMD was definitely concerned early on when he came out there. Could potentially have played a bit of a spoiler, letting his teammate by, then holding up the rest of the HMD crew.
Davey, those guys down there on the pit boxes and those timing stands, they've got all that, the electronic scoring. They know where every single car is out of the racetrack, don't they? Always worried about those potential hang-ups.
Yeah, you know, you have to be observant on things like that because, you know, it is teammates, it is a championship. We've seen some wild things. Matter of fact, I remember 3, 4, 5 years ago at this racetrack, there was a bit of when Sam Schmidt's team was involved, and I think it was maybe the Blarney team, that there was a little team strategy that cost the championship because of some team tactics, and it didn't go over all that well. So whenever somebody's out there like that, you want to make sure they all play fair.
And everyone playing fair right now with Kyle Kirkwood's lead. It's up to 4.6 seconds. Man, he is picking them up and laying them down across the start and finish line. Lena Slundquist now 4.8 seconds back. Benjamin Peterson is 3rd. As David Malukas, Michael, continues to give chase down in turn number 2.
And not doing a very good job of closing that gap between he and Benjamin Peterson. David Malukas, after losing that ground going off in turn number 4 at the exit, is just kind of riding along right now, still struggling, as we saw Lena Slundquist kick up a little bit of dirt at the exit of turn number 3. Right now, David Malukas again, Nick, he just about went off track. He's just got a whole handful of oversteer as he exits that turn. But I will say Benjamin Peterson looks like he's starting to close that gap between he and Lena Slundquist. That's the battle for second.
Yeah, boy, all it takes is for one of those guys to put the right or left side Cooper tires off the racetrack, kick up a little dust, and all of a sudden it's like an accordion. The driver behind you can begin to close, and those drivers running second, third, and fourth, they're all teammates, Jake. They can't get away from each other. Lundquist, Peterson, and Malukas separated by 2 seconds.
And the interesting thing is I listen to Lena Slundquist right now, who has, let's say, a 15 car length advantage or so over Peterson, and then another 4 back to Malukas, as I can tell that they are actually getting off of the throttle a little later into turn number 10 than does Kirkwood. I think, Nick, that's not to say that Kirkwood's not aggressive here, but I think he knows that he has the lead where he can be a little more ginger through that area of turn number 10 where things can go awry than those that are chasing him down.
And Davey on the stopwatch, that little off, that bobble by Lundquist, it shows up as a 1 second loss. Went from 4.8 now to 5.8 seconds. If you're going to run down Kyle Kirkwood, you simply can't make those mistakes.
Well, when Kirkwood's running lap times of 1:17.4 and Lundquist is 1:18.5 over 1 second just in one lap, and he now is six seconds behind him. Yeah, that's now 7 seconds behind him. It just continues to grow. Last lap again over a second off the pace, and boy, you got Kirkwood is just on rails right now. He can just kind of coast really with 16 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're nearing halfway, and the advantage is 7.1 seconds. Davey, if you are in the ear as the strategist for Kyle Kirkwood, are you telling him, hey, man, the lead is big, you don't have to lay down these monster laps, or is as fast as he is, you just let him do his thing?
Well, I think you need to tell him exactly where he stands and that there's no pressure and don't make any mistakes. Sometimes if you tell a driver to slow down, that's maybe when they make mistakes. When you get into it, if your car's right and you're into a rhythm and you know you're not beating your car up or you know you're not hard on equipment, you just kind of do what you have to do, because when you try to slow down sometimes, that's when you start making mistakes, and it's just not as comfortable as driving up to speed.
Yeah, there's no doubt the lead continues to grow. It's up to 7.4 seconds, and all these drivers very young, many of them in the 19 to 22-year-old range, as they all have their eyes set on racing with the NTT IndyCar Series, and maybe one day in the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Qualifying for that event coming up a little bit later this afternoon on these same IndyCar radio airwaves at 2:05 Pacific time, 5:05 Eastern time, as we will see who grabs the pole for the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Up front, Kyle Kirkwood dominating, but the battle for third continues to be good. Benjamin Peterson, he's got a 6/10 of a second advantage over David Malukas, but Jake, every time we see Malukas close, it gets down to a couple car lengths. They snake their way out of the corkscrew. Pretty good battle for the third spot.
And as you talked about, David Malukas well aware that every position is important. Now he starts to close in on turn number 10, but again, the separation accordions out just a little bit. Malukas still has this. He locks up the brakes a little bit in turn number 11. He's got a car length and a half to make up.
No, he does. He's charging out of that final corner, but it looks like Peterson got a little bit cleaner launch out of turn 11, and he's going to keep him at bay. It's the battle for fourth, and as they battle, I'll tell you what, Rob Houghton, the driver that's creeping into the picture is fifth place running Rasmus Lind.
Yeah, Nick, indeed, standing by here right now with Ricardo Juncos from Juncos Hollinger Racing. The HMD cars obviously have looked good all season, Ricardo, but man, how about Rasmus Lind? Only his third start with you here in Indy Lights. Obviously a winner here a couple of years ago in Indy Pro 2000 with you. How pleased are you right now with how Rasmus has done after it is only a second weekend?
It's really good, to see someone like him going back with us, and I really appreciate the effort for the family to be with us for the last three races. Last weekend was the first time he qualified. Today was a little bit tough for him, and now he's doing a fantastic job. Some laps he's the fastest car on track, so it's difficult. This year is one of the most, I will say, difficult years on the Indy Lights in the history, probably with the level of drivers. And for him to be doing what he's doing is really, really good.
Is there a possibility to have Rasmus with you guys next year full time?
We'll see. I don't know. Obviously, I would love to have him, but it's just still too long to go.
Lots of race left. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
That's Ricardo Juncos, folks, from Juncos Hollinger Racing. And Rasmus Lind, as we said, very impressive here. Only his third start, fastest driver on the racetrack, trying to close up on these top three drivers. These second, third, and fourth place drivers, rather, from HMD Motorsports.
Yeah, he looks really good, Rob, and he may get a chance because we are waiting to see, Davey, if we're going to see a full course yellow because Christian Bogle is off the racetrack in turn number 2.
Yeah, and I think there's some potential fluid underneath that car. It looks like where right in his tracks at the center of the car, it looks like fluid that actually maybe caused him to go off the racetrack right there. We'll have to wait and see.
So Bogle's car sits at the exit of turn number 2. He is sitting in it, and there it is, full course yellow, as he is off the racetrack, but that is such a fast part of the racetrack. We see cars mix it up. We also see guys overcook it into turn 2, Davey. Just can't safely leave Christian Bogle there off the racetrack with 13 laps to go.
Yeah, easy place to make a mistake. When you're coming over the hill, over turn 1, down into turn 2, it's pretty blind, and we've seen a lot of cars already just overcook it down in that corner, and so he's in a dangerous spot. And if you watch him, it's not like the front end, he's not locking up brakes. He doesn't have a lot of input in the wheel. Doesn't look, I think something happened to that car, and we can't see the fluid now. Another replay coming out of the back of that car.
Yeah, I was watching, Davey. It didn't look like it was necessarily laying down fluid at the entrance of the corner, but then all of a sudden, mid-apex, it's a pretty distinct streak right there behind that number 7 car. He is out of that machine now, and his day is most certainly done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll find out exactly what happened. These cars are so reliable. We never see engine issues or tire issues or anything normally in these cars, and right now it looks like there's some sort of, I don't know if a line failed or if it's an engine situation or what, but it definitely looks like fluid that looks like oil fluid that came out of the back of the car.
So the Carlin Racing pilot Christian Bogle in his rookie season in Indy Lights appears to be done for the day. He's going to take a trip courtesy of the AMR IndyCar safety crew back to pit lane, and they will have to get a record to retrieve that navy blue number 7. He was running in the 10th position with Robert McGinnis back out of the racetrack. If McGinnis can turn 3 more laps, he'll move up and kick Christian Bogle to the rear of the field. Looks like he is poised for an 11th place finish. 12 laps to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader. He had a 7.5 second lead, and Davey, he is the one guy who didn't want to see that caution come.
Yeah, that's one of the disadvantages of getting these big leads. If you are being hard on your tires and using them up somewhat and in that big lead, it could come back to bite you, especially when this yellow comes out. Had a nice 7-second lead. Wow, pretty amazing to get that big of a lead over Lundquist, Peterson, and Malukas, but he had the job done, and now it all goes away.
Yep. So Kirkwood will see that lead vanish before his very eyes. It'll give a chance for Lena Slundquist, Benjamin Peterson, David Malukas, maybe even Rasmus Lind to creep into the picture for a potential race win, as Lind was really impressive closing in on Malukas and Peterson before that full course yellow. That's how they run top 5. Kirkwood, Lundquist, Peterson, Malukas, and Lind. Daniel Frost runs in the 6th spot. Devlin DeFrancesco 7th. Stingray Robb and Manuel Suleiman. Want to give them a shout out. They had a pretty good battle going on further back in the 8th position. But Suleiman runs in 9th. Christian Bogle now out of the race in 10th. And Robert McGinnis runs in 11th. Back to pit lane. And we'll get to Rob Howard.
Yeah, Nick, to add to your comments about Rasmus Lind, obviously kind of a perfect storm for him right now to a certain extent. Obviously made that debut. He had tested for Belardi Auto Racing before the 2020 season started, so he has seat time, but just no race time here in the Indy Lights Dallara IL-15. But, of course, as we know, was a winner here a couple of years ago in Indy Pro 2000, so likes the racetrack. Also was able to get that Portland weekend in the books, which was great for him, a feel for racing. But you have to go back to 2019 as well. We know Rasmus did well in the Indy Pro 2000 car for Juncos Racing, but also Rinus VK was able to sweep the weekend in Indy Lights. So they have a solid baseline setup coming in here. Didn't get a chance to test like HMD Motorsports and Andretti Autosport did, but they do have a fantastic baseline. Really, I think, kind of playing into right now, giving Rasmus the opportunity to kind of work his way forward.
Rob, of course, you cover the entire road to Indy, including the USF 2000 and the Indy Pro 2000. I know they're not racing here this weekend, but update us on those championships as everybody is kind of into this fall stretch run.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Obviously, only one more weekend for the drivers in USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000. In 2 weeks' time, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we end up going to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for our finale. We have a pretty solid championship battle in the Indy Pro 2000 category. A couple of USF 2000 champions going at it. 2019 champ Braden Eves battling with 2020 champ Christian Rasmussen. Just 18 points separate those two drivers. Rasmussen with a lot of race wins, very close to trying to keep up the pace with Kyle Kirkwood to become the all-time race winner. And Rasmussen versus Eves will be a pretty exciting battle at Mid-Ohio. A little more clear-cut, I think, in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. Nick Kiko Porto with a 49-point lead over Michael D. Orlando. Porto for D-Force Racing, D. Orlando for Cave Motorsports. Looks like we might see another Brazilian champion in the road to Indy as Kiko Porto trying to win that scholarship to move to Indy Pro 2000 in 2022.
Yep, it is really a beautifully set up ladder system for these open wheel drivers here in America to advance and chase after. Of course, the goal for everybody, Davey, to run in the NTT IndyCar Series. And over the history of this program, we have seen a lot of successful stories of guys that have made it to IndyCar, that have won races, and more importantly, won championships as well.
Yeah, what a great stepping stone into the IndyCar Series. Beans, a couple of reasons. These cars built by Dallara, they have a lot of the same handling characteristics. The actual seats from these cars fit right into an Indy car, so as far as the cockpit and the way the cars feel, it's pretty much exactly the same. And I think most importantly, they're racing on the same tracks that the IndyCar Series races on, so they get familiar with the circuits, they get familiar with the other drivers. Just a great stepping stone to move up. And then there's other ways to do it, but this is one of the best.
I mean, I look at the championship standings, Davey, and some of these guys that are trying to run down Alex Palou, one of the few drivers that didn't come up through Indy Lights. But you've got Joseph Newgarden, who won an Indy Lights championship. Scott Dixon, way back when, was an Indy Lights champion. Pato Award as well. I mean, this program has worked despite it looking across multiple generations of drivers, young and old.
Yeah, and we've seen that it's gone through its struggles. I mean, with car count, with a lot of. It's very difficult in any race series, but this one has definitely had its struggles. As you know, there's only 11 cars on course right now, but that's going to get better. There's new teams coming. There's actually new drivers looking to move into the Indy Lights, and team owners, most importantly. So, as this series continually grows back to where it once was, it's going to be exciting, and we'd love to see 20+ cars get in this series as well.
So we are set to go racing once again. Kyle Kirkwood, Lena Slundquist, Benjamin Peterson, David Malukas, the top four. Jake Query, they're making their way out of the corkscrew as we are set to go racing once again.
So Kyle Kirkwood now knows that he's got to do all over again what he did at the outset of this race. Hold off the field as he works his way through turn number 10 and 11 to prepare to go back to racing. Right behind him, Lena Slundquist, this time very closely behind Kyle Kirkwood. As the field starts to accelerate, Kirkwood got a decent jump, but he's still got to go through turn number 11. Nick, we're about to return to racing here at the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, he got that jump out of turn number 10. They still had to make their way to the left-hander of turn number 11. Daniel Frost's going to be the big loser. He's going to get cycled all the way to the back of the pack, but Kyle Kirkwood with a monster jump as they head to turn 2.
He knew he had a 7-second advantage before that caution came out. Can he gap himself again? About 4 car lengths, Kyle Kirkwood over Lena Slundquist, although Lundquist back on the throttle, able to close that gap down to about 4 car lengths. Now, Kyle Kirkwood makes his way through turn number 4, been very tricky, not a lot of grip down in this corner. The field cleanly through. Kyle Kirkwood making his way to the left-hander of turn number 5. He has a 7 car length advantage over Lena Slundquist. 4 car lengths back to the machine of Benjamin Peterson, then David Malukas in 4th, 3 car lengths in the rears.
It was 6th place running Devlin DiFrancesco who forced Daniel Frost to the rear of the field through turn 11, coming to the green flag. That restart for the 17 is under review. Up front, though, Kyle Kirkwood already to 1.4 second. Jake, before the caution, after the caution, hasn't mattered. Kirkwood is on rails.
Kirkwood already in now through turn number 10, and then behind him again, Lundquist, and behind him, Peterson. They are evenly spaced, just 2 car lengths between them, but the reality is Kyle Kirkwood is putting that duo well in the rearview mirror.
Yep, he stretched it out, Davey. It looks like a good 8 to 10 car lengths. What a great restart for Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, and what you want to do is be over a 1.5 seconds ahead of the car behind you. That way they can't use the push to pass, the extra horsepower that generates in these cars to try to catch the car in front of you. And he's already done that. So he's pretty much clear sailing again.
And Michael, as for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, further on back, a lot still to be decided back there.
Yeah, and for Lena Slundquist, as he exits turn number 4, he has Benjamin Peterson about 4 car lengths behind, then David Malukas about 4 car lengths behind him. But Rasmuth Lentz, all of a sudden, the driver that's starting to make the move. Rasmuth in that 5th position. He's just 3 car lengths behind David Malukas. That would be the battle for 4th.
Yeah, and boy, the last thing Malukas wants in the middle of a championship would be for a guy making just his 3rd Indy Lights start to come up and pass him and take away some valuable points. It looks like Malukas is going to keep about a 4 car length advantage over 5th place running Rasmus Lind as they all snake their way through the corkscrew. 2nd through 4th, Jake, heading to turn number 9.
And you know, another one that was interesting is Devlin DeFrancesco, because Stingray Rob on the restart got a really good look at the first part of the racetrack of DeFrancesco, but Devlin DeFrancesco gathered it back up when they came off the corkscrew. He now works his way, talking about Devlin DeFrancesco, I looked in on running in the 6th position, got a little loose through turn number 11, but Rob was not able to take advantage.
Yep, 7 laps to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. David Malukas trying to keep in touch for the championship. Michael, he's running in 4th, and he's got 2 teammates ahead of him heading to turn number 3.
Yeah, the problem is those 2 teammates have really gapped themselves over he and the 2nd and 3rd place running teammates, as you had said. The problem again, Rasmuth Lind is still there, although Lind nearly has that back end step out of him at the exit of turn number 4. David Malukas, that allows him to gap himself about 5 car lengths over Rasmuth Lind. The big key, this turn number 5, the climb up the hill, you get a good exit out of turn number 5, that gets you a good setup for turn number 6. Looked like David Malukas had that happen to him that time.
Davey, as I mentioned, the restart was under review for Devlin DeFrancesco. I know you just got a chance to see a couple replays, and Indy Lights Race Control is going to give him a 5-second penalty. What'd you see there through turn 11?
Yeah, just forced the issue just a little bit too much, Nick. On the restarts, they want you single file. They don't want you to impede anybody's progress, I should say, or where they are on racetrack until you get on the front straightaway and under acceleration. It just seemed DeFrancesco, you know, he did what he had to do to gain a few spots. Unfortunately, Nick, it's going to cost him 5 seconds. I think the penalty, if I'm not mistaken, and Rob probably knows more about this than I do on this series, I think it's 5 seconds when the race ends. You just take 5 seconds off the time, and so what he's hoping that they spread out behind him. But right now, he'd lose 6-7 spots.
Yeah, he would lose the 6th spot to Stingray Rob. He would lose 7th to Manuel Suleiman, and then Daniel Frost would get by him as well as they run. So it looks like, barring any spreading out, and we'll see that naturally over the last 6 laps, certainly appears that Devlin DeFrancesco, that penalty is going to kick him to the last car on the lead lap and possibly a 9th place finish. Of course, he drives for Andretti Autosport with the tie-in with the Steinbrenners, with Andretti Steinbrenner Racing, a new team that joined Indy Lights a few years ago. Rob Howden, of course, we've seen the HMD guys, Global Racing Group, get involved with Indy Lights as well. And I know nothing may be signed officially, but we're going to start to see some more announcements trickle out in the coming months as this field continues to grow, with a lot of eyes set on 2022.
And I think the big thing about the momentum that we have right now here in the road to Indy and Indy Lights is not just the fact that more drivers looking to come into the program, new teams as well. All of us obviously lamenting the loss of the Velarde Auto Racing team earlier this year, but that were buoyed by the opportunity for Tim Neff to purchase that equipment for TJ Speed. We'll see him with a 2-car team next year. 2 additional teams that I know of have not yet announced who have purchased race cars, so you're going to see at least 3 brand new teams in the Indy Lights Series next year, which is huge. And of course, a lot of other drivers, more from Europe as well, looking to potentially move up. And again, with the excitement in the Indy Pro 2000 category, another pool that's able to feed Indy Lights. So conservatively right now, with the spreadsheet I'm working on as a series development director, we're looking at 15 to 17 cars next year. Best case scenario could be as many as 18, but we will have cars for these drivers. We could have as many as 20 seats available for Indy Lights drivers in 2022. Everything working in the right direction for the program.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. And Davey, as good as this program has worked for some young American talents like Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas, who are products of Florida and Chicago, respectively, as Rob talked about, there's a lot of eyeballs over in Europe watching American open wheel racing with the success that, listen, Fernando Alonso comes over the Indianapolis 500. Roman Grosjean has had some success with some strong runs this season. I mean, a lot of folks over there in Europe looking at IndyCar and certainly Indy Lights to get involved and go racing.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's the real deal that you have to This is not just come and pick and choose. We've seen some guys, some drivers from Europe come over to Indy Lights. They fare very well, but it's a difficult series to win in, and if you could win in this series, it's been proven time and time again. If you recall, I go time, Colton Herna, Pato Award, both have won races here, and they came to IndyCar and won races there. And that's not just VK and so many other drivers I can name off. It's like we talked before, Nick. What a great proving ground for IndyCar drivers to come out of this Indy Lights series.
Yep, so it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out. But first and foremost, we have to crown a champion for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. We're not going to do it today. We're certainly not going to do it tomorrow either, because this championship has been so ultra competitive. Right now, Kyle Kirkwood has an 8-point advantage over David Malukas, but those drivers have just been slugging it out all season long. For those maybe not familiar with the Indy Lights Series, Malukas with 7 race wins this year. Kyle Kirkwood has matched him with 7 wins in his own right. So these two have certainly looked poised to be future IndyCar talents. Kyle Kirkwood, though, may get the edge across the start-finish line. Just 3 laps to go. Michael, that advantage is 6.7 seconds.
I was trying to count it in my head. I said it's almost back to that 7-second advantage again. Boy, Kyle Kirkwood, after the green flu, has checked out from the rest of the field. Kyle Kirkwood works his way through that slower turn number 3, now sets up for turn number 4. Had the back end step out about 2 laps ago, but he is cleanly through turn number 4 this time by to give you an advantage, or I should say a visual of how big of a lead Kyle Kirkwood has. He's already through turn number 5 as Lena Slundquist, who runs in second place, exits turn number 4. Lundquist now through the turn number 5 complex. About 7 car lengths back is Benjamin Peterson, and then it's David Malukas again in that championship battle, running in that 4th position.
And boy, this has to just be so scary for the rest of the field when Kyle Kirkwood or any driver comes out and dominates in race number 1, because the reality, Jake, we're going to go racing tomorrow, and I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Kirkwood does this again.
And Kyle Kirkwood right now works his way into turn number 10 and already starts to set up for turn number 11. And just as I say that, Kirkwood goes out of view. Lundquist just now navigating turn number 10. The best battle might be Malukas trying to get back that 3rd spot. It belongs to Peterson, but he's still got about 2.5 car lengths to make up out of turn number 11.
Kirkwood across the start-finish line. 2 laps to go with a 7.7 second lead. Let's take a look at that battle, 2nd through 5th, Michael. They're still all separated by a couple car lengths.
Yeah, Lena Slundquist has enough of an advantage over Benjamin Peterson. I think he'll be safe for the last 2 laps of this race. But as Jake Query had said, that battle's starting to shape up between Benjamin Peterson running in the 3rd position and David Malukas running in 4th. Rasmus Lind running in that 5th position. Rasmus dropped back ever so slightly, but David Malukas really hustling that car through turn number 4. He has to get that position back to really keep himself in a safe distance behind Kyle Kirkwood, considering how dominant Kirkwood has been this afternoon.
Yep, Malukas needs those points, but he can only fault himself with some minor mistakes. He has allowed Benjamin Peterson and Lena Slundquist to both get past, although Lundquist out-qualified him. But Jake, he's trying to run down Benjamin Peterson here in the closing laps.
Yeah, and you know what? Tip of the cap as well to Rasmus Lind that Michael mentioned as Kyle Kirkwood gets set to see the white flag here. But Malukas is trying his hardest to get in towards the podium, and Lind, for a long time there, was not letting Malukas get completely away from him. Now, 8 car length advantage for David Malukas, but we're on the final lap here, Nick, for Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle Kirkwood down the hill, Michael, for the final time into that Andretti hairpin, driving for the Andretti family.
Yeah, the young man from Jupiter, Florida, and the last person you want to see get hot at the end of the season is Kyle Kirkwood, especially the final 2 rounds going to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Complex. He is so good at Mid-Ohio, and he has proven to be good thus far here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Split the Indy Pro 2000 weekend back in 2019 with Rasmus Lind. Looks like Kyle Kirkwood on his way to victory here in race number 1.
Last 6 races for Kyle Kirkwood. He's got 3 wins and 3 second-place finishes. He has been absolutely stout at the most important time of the year. He came in 2nd in points. He's going to go to bed tonight as the points leader if he can hang on, Jake Query, for a couple more corners. Here comes Kyle Kirkwood out of turn 9.
He has not made a mistake so far here at this racetrack. Kyle Kirkwood sets up for turn number 10, does so fairly conservatively, now sets up for turn number 11. He's from the Sunshine State, but on a clear day, it's awfully sunny here in California, Nick, for Kyle Kirkwood.
Out of the final corner, he'll go all the way to the pit wall to salute his team. Kyle Kirkwood has been great. How about win number 8? Twin checkers are out. Kyle Kirkwood takes the win at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in the Indy Lights Grand Prix of Monterey. Lena Slundquist finishes second, 6.6 seconds behind Kirkwood. Peterson holds off Malukas to take third. Malukas, who entered with the championship lead, will end today with an 8-point deficit as he'll have to settle for fourth. Rasmus Lind with a 5th place finish. A stout performance for him. It's his first top 5 in Indy Lights competition. Devlin DeFrancesco across the line in 6th, but as that 5-second penalty is handed out, it will ultimately kick him back to the 9th spot. That's going to move Stingray Robb up to 6th, Manuel Suleiman up to 7th, Daniel Frost to 8th. DeFrancesco will officially finish in the 9th position. Robert McGinnis 4 laps down. He moves ahead of Christian Bogle to finish 10th, and Bogle will end up in the 11th position. Davey, what a performance by Kyle Kirkwood. I mean, he has had some days this year where he's looked absolutely perfect, but this might be the most impressive one of these 17 races we've seen so far.
Yeah, without a question. We continue to talk about how he dominates Mid-Ohio sports car course and swept the complete weekend in domination, but this was really domination. He had a 7-second lead, lost it to a yellow flag, took off again, ends up winning with a 6.6 second lead. Complete domination here. His car, he's just in a different class right now. And Malukas, at this point, needs to start worrying about what he has to do, not only to get that 8 points back that he just lost. He's 8 points back in the championship, but to try to see if he can find the speed that Kirkwood has.
Yeah, you know, Davey, those closing laps, I'm thinking, boy, is Malukas maybe going to get a little help from Benjamin Peterson or Lena Slundquist, and his teammates may play a role in this championship ultimately. But if Kyle Kirkwood keeps winning races, it doesn't matter if teammates move out of the way and play nice for Malukas. Kirkwood's going to take this title.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, he's in a situation where he needs more than teammate help. He needs just sheer speed. He needs to be on poles, getting that 1 extra point. He needs to be leading the most laps and winning races. And right now, with a deficit with 3 races left, and knowing what Kirkwood just did here and the domination he had, and he has another race at this same track tomorrow, starting from the pole, it could be, just another repeat of what he did today.
The label as a championship favorite has been handed back and forth all season long, and certainly feels like with a little momentum at his backside after winning race number 2 in surprising fashion, coming from 4th, Kyle Kirkwood picking up another race win, his 8th of the season, appears to be the guy to beat right now. Again, his championship advantage, 8 markers over David Malukas, 75 over Lena Slundquist. Benjamin Peterson is 4th in points right now, and then Devlin DeFrancesco and Daniel Frost unofficially tied for 5th in the championship. But it is Kirkwood from Jupiter, Florida, who scores the race win, and we will get a chance to hear from him momentarily. The podium today, Lundquist, Peterson, they finished 2nd and 3rd, but it is Kyle Kirkwood on the top step. Coming up on IndyCar Radio, it is NTT Knockout qualifying for the NTT IndyCar Series at 2:05 Pacific Time, 5:05 Eastern Time. Same cast of characters. We'll add Dan Rusanowski, the radio voice of the San Jose Sharks, into the mix as well, as we see that familiar 3-round qualifying to determine who's going to be on the pole for the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. But this is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Kyle Kirkwood, your race winner. Lena Slundquist finishes 2nd. Benjamin Peterson, he's going to take home a trophy, Alex Wolff, as he comes home in 3rd.
5th time this season, Benjamin Peterson on the podium. And what was that run to 3rd position like for you today?
Yeah, really tricky with managing tires. The drop-off is really big around here, so that was a big part of it. The start was a big part of it. It was a tough race. It's a long race for these tires on these cars. It's even longer tomorrow, 35 laps. So overall, pretty darn happy. You know, we've had a strong second half of the year, and sitting pretty solid 4th in the championship. So yeah, I'm pretty happy right now.
Oh, we certainly see that, and another race tomorrow, and best of luck in that, and congratulations on the run today.
Thank you.
That's Benjamin Peterson. He ends up in the 3rd position. Let's head now to Victory Lane and Rob Howden.
Thank you so much, Alex. Kyle Kirkwood, momentum so crucial in this championship. We know that you're going back and forth with David Malukas. You guys have been swinging back and forth on each other to get that momentum coming into the final 4 races. You win from pole, sets up good for tomorrow. Tell me how important this is to you to get this victory today.
Man, it is absolutely massive. That race there, I mean, I was pushing there at the end. I saw that caution come out, and I'm like, man, I got to get ahead of him right away. And I think I pulled like over a second gap just on that first lap. So that was crucial for that race there because they've been really good on the straights all this year. And when they're able to use push to pass, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I am just absolutely ecstatic with that performance right now because this weekend was so crucial for us because this is the one that we're kind of unsure about. Andretti's had not the best performances here, and now this weekend we're just miles ahead. It's probably our best track all year, so I'm absolutely ecstatic. The 28 car has been on rails, and hopefully we can do the same tomorrow.
No one using fresh tires in the practice, a long practice yesterday as well, so their first time for a long distance run, 30 laps. How overall were you happy with the setup in terms of how the car handled for that whole distance?
Man, I thought it was falling off there in the middle, but after that restart I started pushing again, and we were back down to times that we were running in the beginning of the race, so I think our car is perfect.
Is there a mindset change with 3 races to go, getting the win, or is it still just straight up?
No, we need wins. It's between David and I, and it's either him winning or me winning, and it needs to be us.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kyle Kirkwood, guys, another win. That's 8 wins on the season for Kirkwood. He takes an 8-point lead. Alex Wolf into the penultimate round of the season. One more race tomorrow.
And the 9th podium finish for Lena Slundquist, a runner-up finish today. And what was that run to 2nd spot for you here today?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like I said before, you know, we want more. We're here to win. But, you know, days you can't win, then you got to try to be second, and I think that's what we did today. I think we got a bit of work to do overnight and have something to do to try to catch Kyle tomorrow. But, you know, tomorrow's a new day, and it's a pretty long way down into turn 1, and hopefully we can figure something out.
You talk about that work to do with the car for tomorrow. What about you personally, mentally, physically? What's the process like with these doubleheader weekends after one race ends and getting ready for the next one?
I think doubleheaders are nice, actually. They're a lot more fun. And obviously this track is awesome, so it was one of the places that we tested for beforehand. So it was good coming back here, but hopefully we can up the pace a little bit but tomorrow. But massive thank you to the guys that's working all day and night to get the package that we have.
We look forward to see what you can do tomorrow. Congratulations on that runner-up finish.
Thank you.
That's Lena Slundquist, 2nd place here in race 1 for Indy Lights at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Yep, great runs for Benjamin Peterson. Lena Slundquist finishing 2nd and 3rd, but boy, going to have to find a lot to run down Kyle Kirkwood, who will be on the pole position tomorrow. He wins race number 1 by 6.6 seconds. Great job by Alex Wolf and Rob Howden on pit lane, and Michael Young and Jake Query out in the turns for Davey Hamilton. I'm Nick Yeoman. We'll be back at about 2:05 Pacific time right here on IndyCar Radio for IndyCar qualifying. Congratulations. Kyle Kirkwood wins at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, his 8th race win in Indy Lights.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, down here in Victory Lane, getting set to go as the drivers have worked their way up here. So we have the top 3 drivers from Indy Lights. A tremendous weekend for sure for these young drivers. Again, penultimate event on the season. 2 races here this weekend, 2 in 2 weeks at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, as we try to find out who is going to win the $1.25 million scholarship to head to IndyCar in 2022. Let's have a look at the podium. Bring them up here so they can spray the champagne. Finishing in 3rd spot today for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports, Benjamin Peterson. 5th straight top 5 finish for Benjamin Peterson. It's a really strong second half to the season. Coming home in 2nd spot, his teammate at Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports, Lena Slundquist, in 2nd. The driver, though, that will step on top of the box takes an 8-point lead with that 8th win of the season. He is the point leader for Andretti Autosport. Put your hands together for the winner, Kyle Kirkwood! Talented drivers in the future of the NTT IndyCar Series right here for you now, folks. Guys, you want to grab those trophies and get them up in the air. So much talent in the Indy Lights program here this year, and you're going to see this program grow next year as well with all the long-range prospects we're looking at right now, potentially 15 to 17 cars for next year. Let's bring our Kids on Track folks up here. We've got some great guests from Kids on Track, the program we have sponsored by High Tide Boat Lifts. Have a bunch of race fans here with us throughout the weekends of our Indy Lights Championship and the entire Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Great to have them with us here this weekend. Normally having a lot of guests as well from Cooper Tires or Allied Building Products. A lot of different guests, part of our hospitality program involved here with this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Again, a unique opportunity to take the time to meet some of these drivers who are a part of this Road to Indy program. Over the years, we've seen some amazing drivers for sure that have come through this particular facility on the way to IndyCar, like Pato Award and Colton Herta, Renus VK, and Oliver Askew, and this, of course, the future stars of this program. So trophies have been handed out. We've got the pictures. Are we ready, guys? Go to work on the champagne. They've got another race to run here this weekend, so they must have backup suits if they're going at each other like that. So again, folks, one more time, you're with us here at Victory Lane. Have a round of applause for my top three here today. Kyle Kirkwood, his 8th win of the season. Lena Slundquist in 2nd, Benjamin Peterson in 3rd. As I said, 5th straight top 5 for Benjamin Peterson. Great second half of the season. Strong effort, though, by Kyle Kirkwood as he takes the lead with 3 more races to go here in the Indy Lights Championship. They'll race again tomorrow morning, and then we'll cap everything off in 2 weeks' time with the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. For now, though, the guy that's going to enjoy this evening, Kyle Kirkwood, the winner today in Indy Lights.
Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Driver Performance Labs.
We're back live with Kyle Kirkwood. I see a commercial. We are live. Okay, we're live. Sorry, Kyle. We're doing it live. We're back with Kyle Kirkwood. Race 1 here at Laguna Seca, race winner. I mean, it didn't even feel like you won that race. You were so far gone. It was quite an interesting one. I thought the restart was going to get things a little spicy. I thought maybe the HMD guys, they came and tested here. They were bragging about how good their cars were on the long run before the race. You kind of proved that wrong, though, huh?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it was. I remember Malukas before this event. He's like, "Man, we got a good car at Laguna. We did testing. We're quick, all this stuff." And I'm like, "Well, I think the same thing." So, but they seemed super confident about it. And this weekend, I think we got the upper hand. That's for sure.
Well, let's talk even that race is so boring to talk about. Let's talk about Portland and the gut punch you gave them when you probably should have finished third or off the podium, and you came through and got around the teammates that were supposed to help out Malukas. So how does that play into coming into Laguna?
I'm not really sure. It might be mind games for them. I don't know, but it was just crucial for our championship to get that win at Portland because, I mean, man, we would have been at a big deficit if we finished where we qualified in both of those. So those were very important races, but even more important is this weekend because like we just talked about, everyone's kind of unsure where their cars were going to be. And we showed up here, and, man, we were really fast. And they were thinking, oh, they're on low fuel, different strategy. And it was like, oh, that's not really the case. So we've just been super fast all weekend. Our car's on rails. It just feels effortless to drive. And around this place, that's very rare to get.
Yeah, you've mentioned effortless multiple times now. Rob Howden keeps going on it, that you're a dangerous man when it is effortless for Kyle Kirkwood to go out and do what he does. Can I ask, though, why didn't you try this hard all year? Like, what? So usually, this is probably, and kudos to David Malukas, this is probably the closest championship run that you have had on your road to Indy spurt.
By far.
Many a men have fallen to make it to where David Malukas is in this championship. We don't know the Kyle Kirkwood that really has to eke it out and work for it this late in the season, but you're proving that it's no problem, guys. I got it under control. So where has the Laguna pace been all weekend?
Where have we been quicker than them?
Well, no, I should say, where's the Laguna pace been all year? That's what I meant to say.
I mean, man, I don't know. Good question. I wish I knew, or else we'd be doing this good every single weekend. There was a lot of events this year where we thought we were going to be super fast. We weren't fast, which is like Barber, Indy GP, and then there's events where we're like, oh, we're not going to be very good, and that was Road America. Going to Road America where we're like, Juncos is usually fastest, and to make it a little bit more simple, Yancey's who is the engineer from Juncos, has all the setups, brought it over to HMD, and we were just thinking, man, they're going to be super fast at this track, so we just kind of stay on our toes, get through this weekend, whatever, and then we come out to practice and we're super fast. And that's kind of similar to what's happened here, where it's the only two tracks that we've done private testing all year. That's Road America and here, and it's the two tracks I think we've been the quickest.
Take me through the psychology of where your teammates are at versus where David's teammates are at. And it's funny because if I was starting on pole like you were, I'd go, I got a lot of orange cars around me. They're actually playing to your benefit. Did you think at all, and was it ever a conversation on the radio, that David was going to get back by his teammates?
I didn't even know he fell behind his teammates, to be honest.
Okay.
I was unaware of that. Doug, my engineer, actually told me he was in P3 still, and I didn't really look in my mirrors. I was more worried about keeping my tires alive through that caution, knowing that we're only going to have a few laps left. So I didn't even know he finished 4th until the end of the race there. I saw Benjamin pull into victory lane. I'm like, oh, well, that definitely doesn't hurt me at all. So I was pretty stoked to see that. But like you said, I mean, this weekend I'm not sure what's going on with my teammates, but I will be able to go over the data and see. But we need them up there. I mean, it seems like HMD goes out, all their teammates are kind of right there together, which is helping their championship battle. It makes it a little bit tougher for me because, when they see an Andretti car, they're probably going to not play as nice with an Andretti car as they will one of their teammates. So it'd be nice to have the teammates up there, but at the same time, I'm taking this win and running with it because we've just been so fast, and it's all right if they're behind us.
Can I ask this, Kyle? And it's a personal question. You can definitely tell me that's too close for comfort. But when you look at your teammates and where they've been all year, they've always been with you. I mean, Daniel Frost has qualified on pole. They've been there.
Yeah.
Now you're dominating more than we've really seen during this year, and your teammates are, with all due respect, they're nowhere to be found. Is it something, have you changed the philosophy of your car? Have you changed the direction of setup with Doug Zister?
No, to be honest, I mean, Devlin was there in practice 1.
Yeah.
Their theoreticals are there. It seems like in qualifying they just didn't put laps together, if I'm being quite honest. But, I mean, they've like you said, they've been there all year. It's just this weekend, and I'm not sure what the gap's from. Our cars are identical. We've all kind of just strapped the same setup on, and we're comfortable with it. They're comfortable with it, too. It's just the time's not there. Not really sure why.
Great answer. Last answer, going into tomorrow. What is the game plan? Race is at 10:15 a.m. You know you got a good race car. Now you've got Malukas starting alongside you. Does that change?
If anything, it makes it easier that Malukas, because, we went into this race, we're just going to cover Malukas on strategy, right? So they went onto the pit lane with used tires. So we were on used tires rolling onto pit lane, and then they switched last minute. So we switched too, and that put us all on the same strategy. Me, Linus, Malukas, we're all on the same strategy, which is important. It makes it a lot easier for us because what we thought was going to happen was going to be Malukas and I on used and then Linus on new, and he was going to have a big advantage on us. And that was going to make it tough, really, really tough, because I would have had to fight him off. If I got behind him, maybe Malukas could pounce on us. So if he fell off and it backed us up into Malukas, it would have been a nightmare, So that actually played out quite nice. Having Malukas on the outside, I think a bit easier because he won't be in the tow running down into turn 1. And he's stuck on the outside. That's where the marbles are.
Well, it's so interesting you say that. My jaw dropped when I was watching the broadcast, and I saw everybody. I knew that you all pretty well had one set to go for a race, and I couldn't believe that you didn't get covered off, that one of those teammates didn't stick her up versus you and then have used tires and then swap it for tomorrow.
That's what we were expecting. We were expecting Malukas to run used, us to run used, and then Linus, because he's up there, he needs a win, right?
Yeah.
Go new and then get by Kirkwood as fast as possible. That's what I was thinking their mindset was going to be. But all of a sudden Malukas threw news on because I guess he thinks he needs to get by his teammate because he starts second tomorrow, and then it's an even playing field for tomorrow. I guess that was their philosophy, but it didn't really work out that way.
Well, and Andretti, they're a prepared team. A lot of teams could have been caught off guard by that, in the form of not having tires ready to go, set for the pressures right, so that if you did had to switch, you could do it immediately.
Yeah,
right?
the guys over at Andretti, I mean, they're super switched on. I'm pretty sure we got our tire change done a lot faster than those guys. I mean, they're absolutely on it. I mean, the mechanics that I have, they're working on cars in the 500 and run or work on some of the Indy cars throughout the season if somebody's out. So, tire changes is not an issue for us.
Well, good stuff. Kyle Kirkwood, great chatting with you. Great
Likewise.
win. Really, the most dominant win we've seen here on the road to Indy. It's good to catch flames as you're going into the last little stretch here in the championship battle. Fans, don't go away anywhere. We will be back in sunny California at 10:15 a.m. Pacific tomorrow for race 2 while Kyle takes them to the green flag on pole.
Good stuff.